Radhaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste
We can have this in the collar mic. It's good, bro.
Should be, yeah. I can get it next time.
Okay. I'll just do a quick mic testing because this is the first time I'm using with this device. So let me see if all okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So I just this mic? Yeah, that's a mic, but not coming from there. But I'm just trying. Can you speak something? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, awesome. It's a lag. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we are beginning the 3-part series on Krishna and Vrindavan by His Grace Ananda Caitanya Prabhu and well supported by Smara Hari Prabhu. So just a quick introduction about His Grace Ananda Caitanya Prabhu. I'll describe him in 5 B's. He started as a banker in Bhaktivedanta manner. And in the very first year of University of Cambridge, he got introduced to the Krishna consciousness, and then he became a bhakta. Second B, he's a brahmachari of His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj. He is also helping Maharaj with his book distribution as a books editor. And then the 5th B is the book distribution. Prabhu has been spearheading the initiative of His Holiness Shivaram Maharaj books, which are really jewel. These are real chintamani's of our movement. What Gaudiya Vaishnava we should treasure, what Maharaj has been presenting to us, written by all our Vaishnava Acharyas. So let's welcome His Grace Ananda Caitanya Prabhu as well as Smara Hari Prabhu enthusiastically while loudly chanting Hari Bol 3 times. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
So banker? That's pretty good.
Banker, bhakta, brahmachari,
banker, bhakta, brahmachari,
books editor,
editing,
and book distribution.
Om Jnanati Minandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Hambande Shri Gurundinataranam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you so much for being here on this Saturday morning. I know after a week of work, Monday to Friday, Saturday is a day when you recover from the rest of the week. You do your shopping, you do your housework, you do so many other things. And then Sunday is a day when you spend a lot of time around the temple and temple services, I imagine. At least that's how it used to be for me when I was working. So I really value the fact that you're here on this Saturday morning. I'm very grateful to be back here in Seattle. It's wonderful. By the mercy of Rajraman Prabhu, he's been instrumental, so kind in helping us. I was here 2 years ago, actually. It was a brief visit for a few days, and we did some programs mainly in the temple. It was COVID time, though. It was 2 years ago, but the remnants of COVID was still there. And so there were, the programs were, there wasn't such a high physical attendance, but they were very nice nonetheless, and we had some really wonderful interactions with the devotees, and that's why we returned. As Prabhu said, my name's Ananda Caitanya. I was born in London. You can probably tell from my accent, it's a little different. Someone was telling me this morning that the Americans love the British accent. I can't understand why, but I guess I grew up with it, so we don't value what we have often. And in my home, we always worship Krishna. Krishna was our Ishtadev. I used to pray to Krishna every morning. My mother was reading Bhagavad Gita. Initially, she had the Gorakhpur Press Bhagavad Gita. It was a red Gita in Hindi. She was reading that every morning. And in the evening, she would recite whatever she had read. She would test herself by remembering whatever she had read. And that was for myself and my brother, it was our bedtime reading. Or bedtime Krishna conscious input. We used to go to the manor sometimes, to ISKCON London, Soho Street, Central London Temple sometimes. I met the devotees over the years on many occasions. Watching the Mahabharata was key. Instrumental. I'd say it was instrumental. So the Chopra Mahabharata, B.R. Chopra. Yeah. Who's seen it? Yeah? So when it first came on, you're too young, I guess, right? when it came on Indian TV, then the whole of India was shut down. All the traffic stopped, everything was quiet because everyone was just glued to the TV. One devotee was telling me that in Loy Bazaar there were a few of the shopkeepers who had little TVs, and everyone used to just crowd around those TVs. And Loy Bazaar was empty. Imagine Loy Bazaar empty, So I watched that Mahabharata. It came on BBC TV, UK TV, in 1990, 91, 92. It was in 92 episodes in total. And I remember it was between 2:40 and 3:20 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. And we were glued to the Mahabharata. I used to watch it with great attention. I learned Hindi through that. I mean, that was also very helpful in learning Hindi. Good quality, and the dialogues were amazing. Very, very potent, very powerful. And for me, Krishna was Nitesh Bharadwaj. So every time after that, when I used to pray to Krishna, I used to pray, and in my mind's eye, the image was the actor who played Krishna. His name was Nitesh Bharadwaj. So then the two were synonymous until some years later, I was watching a Hindi movie. I never watched many movies in my life, Hindi or Hollywood or Bollywood. But I was watching one movie, and in the movie, there was Nitesh Bharadwaj. But he wasn't playing Krishna. He was playing a villain. He was a drunkard, and he was a woman hunter. And my heart was shattered. Hey, here we go. That's the Mahabharata.
It's a full DVD set.
Full DVD set.
It's in Hindi, right?
It's in Hindi. With English subtitles?
Yes, yeah.
With English subtitles. Yeah. It's good.
I've been watching it on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Pen drive. Anyway, so that was really beautiful. And then when I was 17, 18, I was at university. And in my first week at university, I went to the Krishna Consciousness Society because I had some connection with ISKCON already. And there was a devotee there preaching. He was black-bodied. And when I walked through the door and he was going to give the talk, my initial thought was, what is he going to tell me about my book? I grew up with the Gita. The Gita is a Hindu text. What's he going to tell me about this text that I don't already know? And then he started to speak. And he spoke with such depth, such faith, such clarity. He knew the Bhagavad Gita like a lawyer knows his law books. That's what Prabhupada says. That we should know Prabhupada's books like a lawyer knows his law books. He knew the Gita inside out. He was quoting verse, purport, and then he believed it. I knew the Gita to a degree, but when you really study it, then the faith grows and develops. Shastriki Shraddha. Faith which is born of Shastric study. He had that, and it was so deep, it was so impressive, it was powerful. So then every week I began to reflect. He used to say, there is no question that these Vedic literatures cannot answer. This is the deepest body of knowledge on the planet. There is nothing better. So he said that if there's a question that you ask that I personally can't answer, then I'll have it answered for you. I'll come back next week with an answer after having consulted with someone who knows. So then I took that as a challenge. So every week I'd go in with a new question. Questions which had been puzzling me or troubling me for decades, or a long time, years and years. Growing up, we have so many questions and parents can't always answer them. They're not always so equipped to answer them. So then every week when it was time for questions, I'd have my hand up and I'd have a question. And every week, I often say this, he'd blow my socks off because he'd have an answer, clear, to the point, and hitting the nail on the head. It was powerful. It was deep. So this helped me to gain a faith that yes, first I felt, I can't really relate to this, but I really understood that yes, Krishna consciousness is giving something very powerful because it's giving a clarity of thought. It's giving a philosophically sound presentation of this very ancient tradition, the most ancient, deepest, richest tradition on the planet, and it's giving it to us in such a powerful way. So that gave me the faith to start becoming a practitioner of Krishna consciousness, to read and study the books, to chant Hare Krishna on a daily basis, and eventually get to 16 rounds. After I finished my degree at university, I worked in banking for a year and a half. I was a trader in London. That's what I always wanted to do. We go through different phases in life. When you're young, what do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, you're already, 15, not bad, but what do you want to be?
I haven't really thought about it much yet. Maybe computer science person.
Computer science, something IT related, like the rest of Seattle. So, when I was young, I went through a phase where I wanted to be a police officer. And then at some time later, I wanted to be a firefighter. At a certain point, we were flying on a plane. I thought it was so cool. I wanted to be a pilot. And then I became fixed on becoming a banker. So then, when I was young, they asked me, what do you want to be? And I say, I want to be a banker. And the only reason was one, money. Why does anyone do these jobs? Banking, IT, it's not for the job satisfaction, I'll tell you that now. Right? I mean, talk to anyone who's working. So I wanted to be a banker for the money, of course. So I worked in banking. And of course, by that time, I was a devotee practicing Krishna consciousness. What do I do? What does a devotee do with the money? We donate it to Krishna, So then this was my purpose. But over time, as I thought about it more and more, reflected on my life and my nature, my leanings, my desires, I really wanted to become a monk, a brahmachari, so I did that. I joined Bhaktivedanta Manor. That was one of the best decisions I made in my life. Second was to take shelter of my spiritual master. That was a very good decision.
Who's that?
Shivaram Swami Maharaj.
Yes, I know that.
And then the third decision that I made that I feel very grateful to have made was to move to Hungary. So in 2016, I moved to Hungary. After around 10 years at the manor, I moved to ISKCON Hungary, and that's where I live. That's my base. I would say live is a little stretched because I don't spend so much time there. I travel a lot somehow. It's in my karma. So we've been in America for 3 months, almost. Today is day 87. I'm counting. No, it's been wonderful. It's been a wonderful trip. We've had an amazing time, myself and Smarahari Prue here. We did a road trip. We flew into Houston. And then from Houston, we went to lots of places. I won't list them all, but we've done around 50 programs in these 87 days in different temples, communities, farms, home programs like this one. It was a road trip. So we started in Houston, we went round to Mississippi, Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, all the way up to Toronto, back down to Washington, Baltimore area, up the East Coast, New Jersey, central New Jersey, Towaco, New York, and so on. From there, we went up to Ottawa and Montreal, then to New Vrindavan. Anyway, so many places, I won't list them all. Ypsilanti, Chicago, St. Louis, back down to Austin and Houston. We did 11,000 miles in 11 and a half weeks. He did 96, we calculated, he did 96% of the driving. Because it tells you the trip, you know, how long the trip was and how many hours of driving. And I calculated how many I did, that was easy. He did the rest. So it was a long trip, but we had an amazing time doing sessions, programs, sharing these wonderful, beautiful books with the devotees around America. And this is our last stop here in Seattle. So on Monday, it's day 89. We have a 3-month visa, it's 90 days. So we will fly back to Europe, to Hungary, to base. And what are we doing? We're sharing Krishna. That's the purpose, to share Krishna with the devotees. And this is really the purpose of Srila Prabhupada's move to the West. I often find it nourishing to reflect on Srila Prabhupada and to reflect on his sacrifice. He was in Vrindavan, he had everything he needed. Where else, if you're a pure devotee, where else do you want to be? Vrindavan. You're around sadhus, you have your bhajan, he had all his needs taken care of, he had a residence, a place to stay, but he had a mission, a burning mission inside his heart. And that mission was to share Krishna consciousness with the world. So Prabhupada says in this verse 1, 2, 4 of the Bhagavatam, he says, Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udvirayat. He says, this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest. So Prabhupada adds that, of course, to the translation. This Bhagavatam is the very means of conquest. So Prabhupada translated that in 1962. He was doing the first canto, he began this first canto in 1962. He says the very means of conquest. This was Prabhupada's means through which he would preach Krishna consciousness in the Western world. He received this order, of course, in 1922. It's interesting, if you look at Prabhupada's life, 1922, Prabhupada first met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. 1933, what happened in 33? Initiation. 44, back to Godhead magazine. Prabhupada started. So yeah, every 11 years, something very important. 22, met spiritual master. 33, initiation. 44, back to Godhead. 55, Vanaprastha. Sannyas was 59. And 66, established ISKCON. 77, left the world. And actually I heard this from a devotee in Chowpari. And then he said in 1988, Radha Gopinath Mandir was established. It's every 11 years. It's wonderful. So Prabhupada, he was 62, he was translating, he wrote The Very Means of Conquest. Prabhupada came to the West with what? In the Jaladuta, it was a cargo ship. So Prabhupada had cargo. Does anyone know what Prabhupada brought as cargo? Srimad Bhagavatams. The Srimad Bhagavatam first canto in 3 parts. He had 200 sets of this Bhagavatam. This was the very means of conquest. He was going to an unknown land, never been abroad before. But he thought, okay, what do I give to these people, to these foreign people who've never heard of Krishna before? We often think, how will they understand? It's so difficult, so foreign to them. But Bhagavatam has a potency to penetrate a sincere person's heart, enter that heart and stir that heart. So Prabhupada had great faith. Prabhupada had great faith in the holy name, Yeah, there's various pastimes to depict that. When Prabhupada was taking sannyas, the Pandit was saying, for the kirtan, he was saying, reduce the sound. When he turned away, Prabhupada said, increase the chanting of the holy name. So Prabhupada had great faith in the holy name, and he had great faith in Srimad Bhagavatam. How was Bhagavatam written? Vyasadeva was penning the Vedic literatures. He was Trikalagya. He could see past, present, and future. He could see the nature of the impending age. He saw that people are unqualified. Prayanalpapayosha sabhya, kalavasmin yugejana, manda sumanda mateo, manda bhagyu padrita. 1:110 of the Bhagavatam, it says that the people of Kali Yuga have short lives. Yeah, so the lifespan is much shorter. They have bad memories. They are always disturbed. They're lazy when it comes to spiritual pursuits. So Vyasadeva could see this. Previously, people would hear and they would remember verbatim whatever they heard. So they were called Shrutidhar. So there's a few devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. He has a photographic memory. If he reads a page, you close the book, he can repeat exactly what he read. Straight like, just like that. It's very rare. It's very rare. So Vyasadeva could see that the people of Kali Yuga won't have this capacity, and therefore he began to write the Vedic literatures. Well, Vyasadeva was reciting, Ganesh was writing. When he finished though, Vyasadeva was not feeling satisfied. He knew, you know, when you do service, when you do some service, you work hard, and writing the Vedic literatures, huge body of knowledge, a real endeavor, really not easy. But after you've done some hard service, parishrama, some hard work, when you make a sacrifice for Krishna, you feel some reciprocation. It's natural. But Vyasadeva wasn't feeling that reciprocation. He was feeling disturbed. He was feeling empty inside. And there, at that point, Narad Muni comes and he says that actually what you've done is a disservice for society. What you've done, what you've produced is something which could be very, very disturbing to the people of Kali Yuga, because they will, and therefore he says it's jugupsitam, verily condemned. Prabhupada uses this phrase, verily condemned, because people will use what you've written as an excuse for sense gratification. As karmakand, jnanakand, kevala visharaband. Narottam Das Thakur says, it gives various stages of devotion, but you need to write one literature which makes it very clear what is the process of religion for this age, what is the essence of religion. One book, one topic. So in response, it describes Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam Shukamukhad Amrita Davya Samyutam. This is the third verse of the Bhagavatam. It's described that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of the desire tree of the Vedic literatures. So if all of the Vedic literatures are fruits on this tree, there's one fruit which is mature, which Vyasadeva wrote in the maturity of realization after having received further instruction from his spiritual master. That is the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's a Paramahamsa Samhita. It's the topmost of literatures. And the essence of this Bhagavatam is 12 cantos. The first 9 cantos are a prelude. They're preparing the consciousness. We hear all about creation. In cantos 2 and 3, creation is described 5 times from different perspectives. We hear about cosmology, canto 5. We hear about so many incarnations. All of this is preparing us because we understand Krishna Stu Bhagwan Swayam. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is Swayam Bhagwan. And he's a source of all these incarnations. He's a source of all the cosmology. He's a source of all the creation. And we hear about that Krishna in this 10th canto. So in the 10th canto, we hear about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. We hear about Krishna's pastimes in Mathura. and then Krishna's pastimes in Dwarka. Krishna spends the majority of his time in Dwarka. After a certain amount of time of living in Vrindavan, Krishna leaves because he has to kill demons. He has various duties to perform. Kamsa calls for Krishna and Balaram to come. Kamsa's intention is to kill them, of course. When Krishna is leaving Vrindavan, then the Rajvasis, it's like they're having their hearts torn out of their chests. It's very, very intense. They're so... see, there's separation. Separation is a key theme throughout Krishna's pastimes. There are 4 types of separation. The first type of separation is called Purvarag. Purvarag means before ever having met Krishna, there is great attachment and therefore a great feeling of separation in his absence. So before, for example, Rukmini has ever met Krishna, she's fallen in love with Krishna. She wants Krishna to be her husband. How? She simply heard about Krishna. Never met him, but just heard about him. She was in love with him. So this is Purvarag. Attachment, rag, before ever having met Krishna. Once Srimati Radharani, she heard this wonderful melodious flute playing. It was mesmerizing. So, so beautiful. It stirred her heart. So she thought, somehow, whoever was playing the flute, she fell in love with that person. Then she saw Vishaka. Vishaka Devi was painting a picture. And this picture was so beautiful, so mesmerizing. So when Radharani saw this picture of this personality, she fell in love with this personality. Then she heard the glories of this person called Krishna. Someone was glorifying him. And by hearing these glories, just like Rukmini, Radharani fell in love with this person called Krishna. So then Radharani's thinking, my God, she starts talking to Lalita. She's saying this person playing the flute, and I fell in love with him. Then I saw this picture, and I fell in love with this person. And then I heard the glories of this person called Krishna, and I fell in love with him. What kind of Vedic woman am I? One thing is falling in love with someone outside of marriage. Another thing is falling in love with 3 different people. And even worse, 3 different people at the same time. This is terrible. She felt so ashamed. What shall I do? And then actually what they found out is that person was the same person. All 3 were the same person. The flute player, the picture, and the person who was being glorified. All 3 were the same person. So Radharani, she had never met Krishna before at this time. It was Purvarag. Attachment before ever having met. And so due to this attachment, there is a great experience of separation. Yeah, so this is the first type of separation, Purvarag. The second type of separation is when there is a short period of separation. So for example, everyone in Vrindavan experiences this separation. When Krishna goes off to herd the cows, then Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, they're paining because Krishna will be gone. And the forest is so dangerous. The potential of demons is always there in Vrindavan. Mother Yashoda says to Krishna, why don't you wear some shoes? There's so many stones and pebbles and thorns in Vrindavan in the forest. It's so dangerous. Wear some shoes, Krishna. Krishna always denies. He says, I want my shoes, I want my feet to come in touch with Braj Bhumi, with the land of Braj. Why would I ever wear shoes? Create this separation? No. So like that, Mother Yashoda is fussing over Krishna. The whole process of Krishna leaving Vrindavan takes such a long time because Mother Yashoda is fussing over him. Her love is the most intense. Mother Yashoda, in terms of Vatsalya Ras, Mother Yashoda's love is the most intense. Then Rohini, then Nanda Maharaj is described. So Mother Yashoda, then Rohini, then Nanda Maharaj. This loving mood of a mother is so deep, so powerful. Such a nice picture of Mother Yashoda and Krishna. So Mother Yashoda is so pained at the thought that Krishna will go away for the day. So many hours away from Krishna. How will I live? What will I do? So she's so pained. This is short separation. And then there is the long separation, pravas. So when Krishna is going to go away for a long time, like now he's leaving Mathura, he's leaving Vrindavan to go to Mathura, this is a long period of separation. Who knows when he'll return? The only way he's allowed to return is because he says, I'll be back. He promises, I will return. But still, for the Vrajavasis, this is really like pulling the heart out. It's such an intense feeling of separation because he's going to go away for such a long time. For the gopis, even a moment is a long time. They curse Brahma. What kind of a creator are you? What use is your 4 heads? 4 heads means you have 4 brains, means four times intelligence, means at least you could have figured out a way of not having eyelids. Because what do these eyelids do? They blink. And when they blink, these eyes have eyelids covering them, the eyelids blink, and that means for that moment, we cannot see Krishna. This is the level of the attachment, the depth of their attachment towards Krishna. So they're so deeply absorbed in Krishna. This time, this unit of time is called a nimesha. Nimesha, the amount of time it takes to blink. It's a fraction of a second, of course. In the 3rd canto, there's a chapter called Calculation of Time Using the Atom. And in there, all of the various units of time are described. So nimesha is the amount of time it takes to blink. So imagine if blinking is a problem, then going away for the day, or for the gopis, they can't see Krishna for many, many hours. You know, during the daytime, Krishna meets the gopis in Govardhan. During the nighttime, he meets them in Yamuna. But in between, they're in separation. So these hours of separation are so difficult. But days, weeks, months, and years of separation, it's almost intolerable. So the Vrajavasis, they become emaciated, so disheveled. The descriptions of separation are very intense. There's 10 stages of separation. The 10th stage is, can anyone guess? Vipralamba. So separation is Vipralamba. The 10th and final stage of separation is death. Death. And the gopis especially, because their love is the most intense, their attachment is the most intense, their symptoms of separation are the most intense. And therefore, they get very close to death. Very close to death. And then the 4th type of separation is very interesting. So there's one pastime. Once Radha and Krishna are together in a kunj, and Madhumangal is there. So, and there's a bee. There's a bee who's buzzing around. So Madhumangal is there to help. So he shoos the bee away. He gets the bee away. And then he says, Madhu has gone. Madhu is bee. So the Madhu, the bee is gone. But Madhu can also mean Krishna. He's Madhusudan. So then when he says Madhu has gone, Radharani is constantly in this state of fear that at some point Krishna will leave. And what will I do when Krishna leaves? So he says Madhu has gone. So then she just thinks, my God, Krishna's gone. Madhu has gone. And you know, we assume the worst. We always assume the worst. It's like a mother's heart. When I was young, and if I was 10 minutes late from coming back home from school, my mother would say all sorts of things went through my mind, right? Because you think the worst. So Radharani says, so Madhu Mangal said, Madhu has gone, and Radharani thinks Krishna's gone. But he's sitting right there next to her. But she gets so absorbed in this separation, she just assumes Krishna's gone, he's no longer here, and then she just goes in, she faints. This is called Prema Vaichitya. Prema Vaichitya is the madness, the intensity of love. So only the most exalted personalities experience this Prema Vaichitya, this fourth type of separation. So Krishna leaves Vrindavan. He casts Vrindavan into, it becomes like a ghost town, it's described, in the sense that everyone's depressed. What's the point of living in Vrindavan if there's no Krishna? They don't see the reason to live, there's no inspiration to continue. So it's a very painful situation. So Krishna goes to Mathura and then he goes to Dwarka. And of course, Dwarka is also in Krishna. See, the one beautiful thing is, okay, the devotees miss Krishna. But Krishna also intensely misses the devotees. Krishna consciousness is a two-way street. It's not just that the devotees are in agony for Krishna and Krishna's just enjoying. He has no worries, no troubles. Krishna is also experiencing the greatest agony, pain, separation from the Rajvasis. He can't imagine, how am I living without the Rajvasis in Vrindavan? Vrindavan is the place to be. What am I doing here? So he's constantly meditating on Vrindavan. He's laying next to Rukmini and he's calling out Radha, 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 Radha. So everyone in Dwarka is constantly thinking and talking, what is it about Vrindavan that's so special? Why is our Krishna so attached to Vrindavan? What is it so special about them that we don't have? We love Krishna so much. Is it possible to love Krishna more than we do? I don't think so. How could it be possible? So they're constantly wondering. And therefore, actually, on one occasion, Krishna sends Uddhava to Vrindavan. And he gives the excuse of sending messages to the Rajvasis. He gives each Rajvasi a letter, and Uddhava acts like a messenger. And therefore, Rupa Goswami has written a book called Uddhava Sandesh, which is basically Uddhava's messages. He's acting as a messenger for the Rajvasis. But really, Krishna's internal purpose is that Uddhava go to Vrindavan. He spent 2 months there, and there he learned about the Vrajvasis and their superlative love. He witnessed it firsthand, and he saw the depth. He saw their devotion. He saw their love. Once, Krishna had a headache. You've heard this pastime. Krishna had a headache, and Narad Muni was there. And he was so disturbed. What do we do? Krishna, you've got a headache. We'll call a doctor. Krishna said, no, no doctors. What do we do? How do we solve this? How do we relieve your headache? Krishna said, there's only one solution. What's the one solution? I need the dust from the lotus feet of my devotees. Narad Muni said, you have so many devotees. That shouldn't be difficult. So he went round to all the devotees, asking, please give the dust from your feet. Why do you need the dust from my feet? Krishna's got a headache. He said, what? What will you do with the dust? Krishna said, if you apply the dust from the lotus feet of my devotees on my head, then my headache will be relieved. Everyone said no. Dwarka queens, they said, if we give the dust from our feet on Krishna's head, how could we? We'll go to hell. Eventually, Narad Muni got to the gopis. The moment when gopis heard that Krishna's got a headache, they were so disturbed. What can we do? How can we relieve this? Narad Muni said, we need the dust from the lotus feet of his devotees. He said, we're not much We're not very good devotees, but if this will solve Krishna's headache, they all gave Narad Muni piles and piles of dust. Narad Muni said, this is going to go on Krishna's head. And the gopis said, yes, and it will relieve his headache. And they said, yeah, but you'll probably go to hell. You're putting your dust on Krishna's head. And they said, who cares? Who cares about us? This is not about us. Krishna's got it. You just said Krishna's got a headache. That's the main thing. What happens to us? We'll suffer in hell for millions and millions of lifetimes. No problem. But Krishna can't have a headache. So there's various pastimes which show the superlative consciousness and the love for Krishna, which is devoid of awe and reverence, which is really there in Vrindavan, which really sets the Vrajvasis apart. So Uddhava gained this education while he was there in Vrindavan, and he understood the depth of the Vrajvasis' love. So back to Dwarka, Krishna's there writhing in agony in Dwarka. So the Dwarkavasis, they come up with a solution. So we titled this morning's talk, Vrindavan Pastimes in Dwarka. So now you'll understand why. Vrindavan Pastimes in Dwarka. Interesting, right? I also never knew about this until I read some of these books. So Vrindavan Pastimes in Dwarka. Generally we hear it to be very distinct. I remember when I heard about Rupa Goswami, he was writing a play. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, don't take Krishna out of Vrindavan. So then he split the play into two. One is Lalita Madhava and the other is Vidagdha Madhava. Vidagdha Madhava is Krishna in Vrindavan, Lalita Madhava is Krishna in Dwarka. When I first heard this, I read this in one of Prabhupada's purports. I said, okay, when I'm ready, I'll read Vidagdha Madhava, but I'm not interested in Lalita Madhava because it's Krishna in Dwarka. We're not interested in Krishna in Dwarka. But when I actually came to it, I began to see and understand that actually the mood, the bhav of Krishna in Dwarka is actually very Vrindavan also. In one sense, it's even deeper because the intensity of the separation is superlative. So Krishna's there in Dwarka and he's missing the Vrajvasis so much so they build a Vrindavan for Krishna in Dwarka. And this place is called New Vrindavan. Just like we have New Vrindavan in West Virginia, Prabhupada probably got this inspiration from Rupa Goswami. They called it Nava Vrindavan. So they built a beautiful replica of Vrindavan in Dwarka. Vishwakarma, he's the architect of the demigods. He put this place together. Very, very beautiful place. Just like Vrindavan. All of the holy places are there. Vrashana, Java, Nandagram. Everything is there. Beautiful. So then there was a grand opening of Nava Vrindavan. And everyone was so excited. The Dwarkavasis couldn't stand Krishna in such pain, in such agony constantly. So they wanted to give him a place, a space where he could go, which was very local, very easy to get to. And he could be in Vrindavan. He could feel at home. And then he could return back to Dwarka, carry on with his duties and his responsibilities, but live more peacefully and experience that Vrindavan atmosphere. So imagine there's a grand opening of Nava Vrindavan, and then Krishna enters, and he's looking around. There's Govardhan Hill, there's a river Yamuna, he goes to Javat, he goes to Nandagram, he goes to Vrashana, he goes to all these wonderful holy places, but he's looking around, and it just doesn't feel the same. Why? The gopis, parents, sakhas, there's no people. Vrindavan is wonderful and beautiful, but if there's no Vrajvasis, then what's Vrindavan? It's just not the same, because Vrindavan is a wonderful, beautiful place, but without the loving interactions, the prema madhurya, the lila madhurya, the wonderful interactions amongst the devotees, the wonderful pastimes that take place amongst the devotees in Vrindavan, it's just not the same. So actually, going there to this replica of Vrindavan gave Krishna's heart even more pain, because he was just missing, reminiscing even more. So he decided that actually this was actually doing him more harm than good. So he vowed, I will never go there again. I'll never go to this Nava Vrindavan again. I don't want to go there. It's just pain. Why just go there for pain? So Krishna never went to Nava Vrindavan. Sometime later, someone knocks on Rukmini's door. And Rukmini greets her guest. So of course we know that the various Vrindavan associates have their Dwarka counterparts. Yeah? So Rukmini, who is Rukmini in Vrindavan? Anyone know? Chandravali. Yeah?
You won't remember her this one.
Chandravali. Who is Chandravali? Louder? They are distant. You know, everyone in Vrindavan. Maybe that's I can't claim. There are distant relatives. They are all relatives actually. But primarily, Chandravali is Radharani's competitor. Yeah, she's her number one competitor. So Lalita, Vishaka, they don't compete. They could compete with Radharani in terms of qualification, in terms of beauty, etc. They could work, you know, they could serve that role of being competitors, but they don't. They don't want to compete with Srimati Radharani, but Chandravali does. There are various different moods in Vrindavan. Yeah, everyone has a different mood. Sometimes we want everyone to be uniform, everyone to be exactly the same. Why don't they agree with me? Why doesn't everyone just agree with what I think, my perspective? But we were just saying how variety is the spice of life. Krishna loves variety. So there's so much variety. Rupa Goswami, in the graduate text to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami Prabhupada wrote the summary study Nectar Devotion, but in the graduate text to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami outlines 360 different categories of gopis. So there's a lot of variety, 360 different categories, according to their mood, their nature, their characteristics, their activities. Very, very interesting. There's charts in these books actually which describe this. Very interesting. It's so scientific and so variegated at the same time. The spiritual world is beautiful. There's nothing like it. And the more we read and hear about the spiritual world, the more we become attached to that place. We can feel this material world. We can see it. We can smell it. We can hear it. We can taste it. And therefore, this place feels so real. It's tangible. They say, I believe what I can see. Pratyaksha. And therefore, naturally, we become attached to this space because we have interaction with it. Dhyayato vishayapum sam sangatesha prajayate. As you have interaction and touch, feel, taste, hear, we become attached. But that dissuades us or makes it more difficult from becoming really attached to the spiritual world. And therefore, we have to increase our interaction with the spiritual world. How do we do that? We have to read about it. We have to hear about it more and more and more. We have to absorb our consciousness in these topics. And that's really the purpose of these pastimes. That's the purpose of the acharyas writing all of their writings. That's the purpose of Vyasadeva penning the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the purpose of these books also. to inject Krishna and Vrindavan into the hearts of the devotees. So Dwarka's there. Who knocks on Rukmini's door? It is Satyabhama. And who's Satyabhama? Radharani. So Radharani's counterpart in Dwarka is Satyabhama. And the moment Rukmini sees her, she's struck with fear. Oh my God. Rukmini is Krishna's number one queen. Whenever you have something, what are you fearful of? Losing it. If you have wealth, what is a wealthy man always worried? A wealthy person is never peaceful because he's always worried about losing his wealth. Yeah? Someone who has looks, constantly looking themselves in the mirror, making sure from all angles. Because what are they fearful of? Aging process. Someone who's famous always wants to become more famous. How many likes do I have? How many followers do I have? How many endorsement, what do they call it? Advertisement deals do I have, with Nike and Puma and Reebok, whatever it is. Because these are all hallmarks of a famous person. Will Smith lost his fame overnight when he slapped Chris Rock, right? So someone who's famous is fearful of losing his fame. Rukmini is fearful of losing her number one position. And when she sees Satyabhama, then she thinks, if my Krishna sees her, then my number one position is gone. So what do I do? So Satyabhama says, "O Queen, I need your shelter. I need your help. What do I need? I need to find a space, a place. You're the queen. You have such a big, beautiful palace. You have so much opulence. I need a quiet place. Because there's one person that my heart is drawn to, but I can't find him. I don't know where he is. I won't get him. I don't want to see any other men. I don't want to see any other people. I have my associates. Can you just give us a quiet space to live where we don't see any other men? Quiet space." Rukmini's thinking, I don't want you to see Krishna. That's my purpose. So then she starts thinking and she comes up with an idea. Satyabhama's here. She doesn't want to see any men. And I don't want her to see Krishna. So where do I put her? If you're Rukmini, we're in Nava Vrindavan. So Rukmini thinks, let me put her in Nava Vrindavan because Krishna said he'll never ever go to Nava Vrindavan. Perfect. So this is all in Lalita Madhava by Rupa Goswami. So, and also Hamsaduta is also is there, that's also by Rupa Goswami. So Satyabhama very happily goes to live in Nava Vrindavan. One day Madhumangal visits Dwarka to see Krishna. It's a rare visit. It's not often that the Vrajvasis come to Dwarka. Dwarka's not quite the right type of mood. Have you ever been to a place and you just feel the mood? It's just a little off, just a little different. Yeah? In the same way, when the Vrajvasis, if they go to Dwarka, the mood is just a little off. It's not quite how it should be. So they don't usually go. But anyway, Madhumangal visits Dwarka. He visits Krishna in Dwarka. And they're talking and they're talking. And what do? It's like when Prabhupada disciples come together, what do they speak about? They speak about Srila Prabhupada. It's so beautiful. In the same way, when Vrajvasis come together, they speak about Vrindavan. They speak about the pastimes in Vrindavan. So Krishna and Madhumangal are together. And they're speaking about Vrindavan, reminiscing about all of the pastimes. So then Krishna says, hey, you're here. Why don't we go to New Vrindavan? Why don't we go there? Because you're here. And we can reminisce in the atmosphere of Vrindavan. It's such a wonderful place. They made this replica for me, but I don't want to go there because there's no Vrajvasis there. At least you're here today. Let's go. Let's go to Nava Vrindavan. So they go, enter into the forests of Nava Vrindavan. They're walking through, talking, reminiscing, laughing and joking. Bhatto, Madhumangal, he's always a laugh a minute. There's always jokes. And then suddenly they come into a clearing in the forest. And in that clearing, there's a beautiful deity. And Krishna is just drawn to this deity. He looks so attractive. So he goes to the deity and he asks Madhumangal, who is this? And Madhumangal says, Krishna, it's you. This is you. You didn't recognize? It looks just like you. So then Krishna is just mesmerized by the deity. And actually this is interesting. It happens often. Krishna in Dwarka, Dwarka is so gleaming, so beautiful. So wherever you go, it's studded with gems, rubies, emeralds, diamonds, sapphires. And he can see his reflection. And sometimes he's just looking at himself. And he's just mesmerized. This is the same as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Is Krishna himself, who's come as his devotee, and he loves Krishna. In the same way, Krishna is in Dwarka, he's looking at this deity and thinking, wow, so beautiful, so attractive, so wonderful. Krishna has this innate desire to be his own devotee, in a sense. So then he's looking at the deity and he's thinking, he can see all of the shringar is fresh. He's thinking, who's living here? I thought New Vrindavan, this Nava Vrindavan was derelict. Who's staying here? Because everything is very fresh. The worship has happened today. Who is worshipping this deity? And then he begins to see, when he looks a little closer, the tilak is bent. The garland wasn't placed properly. The sandalwood on the feet was cracking. And there's two options. If anyone's done any pujari service, then these items, the tilak, the garland, the sandalwood, these are the ABC, not difficult to get right. So Krishna was thinking either the pujari is a real neophyte, or they're in ecstasy. So when the pujari was painting the tilak, the hand was shaking, and therefore the tilak was bent. Ecstasy. They were so absorbed in their ecstasy that the garland wasn't placed straight. And they were crying a river of tears. And therefore it started to wash the sandalwood. And the sandalwood was therefore flaking off. Krishna's conclusion from analyzing the deity was that whoever was worshipping this deity was in ecstasy. Was in the ecstasy of love. So Krishna became very, very curious. Who is this? Who is worshipping me with so much love? Who loves me? And who's here? Who's living here? So all these unanswered questions. So at that point, they heard the chatter of young girls coming closer and closer to the clearing. So then Krishna acted very quickly. He told Madhumangal, quick. They took the deity off the plinth, put him into the bushes. Krishna swapped clothes. He was wearing his regalia, his armor, his helmet, all of his very heavy, kingly clothes. He had his bow and arrow. He took those off, and this deity was dressed in, because it's Satyabhama, Srimati Radharani. What is he wearing? He's not wearing Dwarka clothes, he's wearing Vrindavan clothes. Beautiful yellow dhoti, sash like a belt, beautiful forest flower garland, peacock feather was there. So Krishna quickly put these clothes on. He felt so relieved. This is the clothes that he loves to wear. This is where he feels most natural. So then he went, and Krishna jumped onto the plinth, took a flute, and is imposed as the deity. And Bhatto or Madhumangal is hiding, watching the proceedings. So then Satyabhama comes along with her friends into the clearing. And the moment she comes in, She's just drawn to the deity, to Krishna. And the moment Satyabhama comes into sight, Krishna's eyes are just fixated on her. So she's just drawn, and she just moves closer, just automatically, involuntarily. She's just moving closer and closer and closer to this beautiful deity, to Krishna. And as she's moving, Krishna's eyes are moving also, watching her. Krishna can't take his eyes off of her. So then she begins to see, hey, hold on, this deity, his eyes are moving. Since when did the eyes move of a deity? That doesn't make any sense. Then, as she's getting closer and closer, Krishna begins to tremble in ecstasy, because he hasn't seen Srimati Radharani for such a long time. So she's getting closer and closer, and Krishna begins to tremble in ecstasy. And then Satyabhama says, hey, hold on, deities whose eyes are moving and who are shaking, since when did deities shake? And then suddenly Krishna called, he couldn't help himself, he was in such ecstasy, he just called out, Radha, Radha, and he began to cry. And Satyabhama jumped onto the plinth, and she took her sari, the veil, and she began to wipe his tears. She was wiping his tears. And both of them again were reunited, Radha Krishna Milan. And then that connection, both of them fainted in ecstasy. So imagine the scene. Radha and Krishna are there, Madhu Mangal's hiding in the bushes, Satyabhama and Satyabhama's associates are watching, and no one knows what to do. But then more voices coming. Rukmini's coming closer and closer. So suddenly, Krishna and Satyabhama, they awake from their ecstasy, and very quickly Krishna has to swap clothes with the deity, put on his Dwarka regalia again, put the deity back. Satyabhama goes away, and Krishna and Madhu Mangal begin to leave Nava Vrindavan like nothing happened. Rukmini's coming closer and closer. You know, women, they have a sixth sense. Correct?
I suppose.
Correct? So Rukmini feels. She doesn't need to know. She feels there's something going on, something happening here. But Krishna's just very innocently leaving Nava Vrindavan. Nothing happened. You know, no care in the world, just he's leaving Nava Vrindavan. Rukmini's coming towards Nava Vrindavan, and they bump into each other. And Rukmini said, hey Krishna, what are you doing? You were in Nava Vrindavan? And Krishna said, yeah, well, you know, Madhu Mangal was here, so we thought we'd go on a little stroll. And she said, and? How was it? Krishna said, it was okay, it was nice, but just because Madhu Mangal's here. And Rukmini said, did you meet anyone else here? Krishna said, no one lives here in Vrindavan, right? It's empty. So Krishna was playing innocent, and he slid away from Rukmini. But Rukmini was left with this impression that there was something about Krishna. There was a whiff. A whiff, you know this phrase, this word? There was a sense that something was different today. And naturally, what is her mind being drawn to? She's worried. What if Krishna and Satyabhama actually met? This is her worst nightmare. So then the pastimes continue. Of course, so Krishna knows Satyabhama's there. Satyabhama knows that she's come in touch with Krishna, her long lost love. So then Krishna has the task now of daily escaping from the palace to meet Radharani, Satyabhama, in Nava Vrindavan. Satyabhama's free. She doesn't have a care in the world. It describes in the Svetashvatara Upanishad, Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. Krishna has no responsibilities, no duties. That's when he's in Vrindavan. When he's in Dwarka, then he has so many responsibilities, so many things to do. So now Satyabhama's free, Radharani's free, Krishna has to escape. So it's a reflection of the past times in Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, Krishna's free, but Radharani has to escape from her in-laws. So in Dwarka, it's the opposite. It's reversed. And that's the nature of Dwarka. Once I remember one great soul, he said that work, Krishna has responsibilities in Dwarka. He said work is the punishment for being in the material world. Yeah, I'm sure you can relate to that. Work is a punishment. You have to do it, right? You have to pay the bills. But it's a real punishment. Work is a punishment for being in the material world. We should not come back again. We should make sure. And this was Prabhupada's vision, this was Prabhupada's desire, that devotees, he said, just give this one life to Krishna. And there's many ways to give this one life to Krishna. But just give this one life to Krishna. So many lifetimes we've given in so many ways to the material energy. We've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, tried so many things. Just this one life, give to Krishna. And go back home, back to Godhead. So we should maintain that desire in the heart. Very often what happens is that devotees, they practice Krishna consciousness. There's a lot of enthusiasm and desire to practice. At the beginning, when you first joined Krishna consciousness, cast your memory back, way back to the beginnings of Krishna consciousness. When you first came in touch with the devotees, with the holy name, with prasadam, with books and so on. How it was so fresh, so new, such a relief. You know, what do they say? Kleshagni Shubhadha. Yeah, and Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami describes that Kleshagni, you get some relief from the pangs of the material energy, the fire of the material energy, and then it leads to this auspiciousness in your life. Everything is so fresh and so wonderful and so new. You have to learn Shastra, learn the basics of Krishna consciousness, learn the shlokas, learn to play instruments, Vaishnava etiquettes, so many things which are fresh and new. And then someone tells you, have you thought about having a spiritual master? And then you begin to think, okay, well, I should get initiated. I should become part of the club, Das Devi Dasi club. So then you start to work towards that goal in Krishna consciousness, that I have to become part of the club. So then you work towards that. These days, Bhakti Shastri is for second initiation, right? But so many things, you have to do the Guru Disciple course. I don't know what the rules are here in Seattle, but every place has its own set of rules. You have to jump through so many hoops in order to become qualified to take initiation. And then one fine day, you're graced with the great mercy of receiving the beads and a spiritual name, and you become part of the family, Achyut Gotra, and you're now initiated. And then second initiation is the next thing to strive for, to try and grab hold of. Then you have to do Bhakti Shastri, you have to do so many things, maybe some deity worship, I don't know what the rules are, but you go through the motions, and then you take second initiation. If you're a man, then you get the string, and again, you become part of the club. You can sit there and do your Gayatri. No one should disturb you. And it's great, it's wonderful for 5 minutes. And then it becomes run-of-the-mill. Maybe it becomes a burden internally, deep down. But, and then what? Then what we often find is that after the initial period of Krishna consciousness, devotees begin to lose that initial enthusiasm, that inspiration in Krishna consciousness. Chanting Hare Krishna becomes a chore. Maybe it always was, but even more so. There's this meme, a young man, he's chanting his rounds. It's like a cartoon I saw. He's chanting his rounds, and it's like, oh, he's like, you can see, he's just chanting them to get them done. And then eventually, when he finishes his rounds, he spins a bead bag. 16 rounds done for today. He spins a bead bag and throws it out, and he goes up, and away, up into the stratosphere, and you can see the bead bag flying out of the earth. and it's up into the, into the stratosphere. He said, finished until tomorrow. So this is a mood sometimes with the chanting. Prabhupada said that 95% of your advancement comes from chanting Hare Krishna. Prabhupada said that it took him 30 years to perfect his chanting. So, 30 years. And this is Prabhupada. Of course, Prabhupada he's saying this for a reason. Whether it's true for him or not, that's irrelevant. He's instructing us that we need to really endeavor, and we need to make constant endeavor in order to advance in Krishna consciousness. And all of these external things may drive us, may inspire us to go to practice, to serve, and they may create this fire of enthusiasm in our hearts. But you can see that these external markers of success, they may not necessarily move in line with internal development of Krishna consciousness. We have to make sure that as well as our external contribution, as well as the external markers being ticked off, that there is a commensurate internal development of Krishna consciousness. We have to make sure that we are gradually developing more attraction towards Krishna, towards the holy name, his form, his associates, his pastimes, his abode. And that requires a real serious internal endeavor as well as the external endeavor, which is in one sense much easier to carry out. It's easy to run around. We've done it in the material world. We do the same in our spiritual lives, but to have internal development of Krishna consciousness. And that means that we have to take out time for Krishna. It requires time. Krishna consciousness is not a walk in the park. It really requires some sacrifice to really put Krishna first. And sometimes, and I'm not discouraging practical service here, of course not, but sometimes it may mean to do a little less service externally and to focus a little more internally, to take out quality time, to chant good rounds, to be attentive, to have goals in my spiritual life, to know where am I right now in my spiritual life, what stage of devotion. And yeah, it's easy to say, I'm such a neophyte, I'm an artanivriti and I always will be for the next 50 million lifetimes. We hear that often, this mood. But no, why am I not meaningfully, seriously striving for Nishta? I can't stay a neophyte all my life. I have to become, the neophyte platform is a very precarious situation. I have to seriously endeavor towards becoming more and more steady in my spiritual life, in my internal practices. I have to become a Madhyamadhikari. This is a very precarious position. So, and this is what I have to aspire for. You're all successful people. How did you come to this stage? A lot of blood, sweat and tears. A lot of endeavor. A lot of effort and energy. So in the same way, spiritual life requires a bit of that same mood. So what these books are really doing is, number one, they are instructing and guiding us, helping us to understand what that endeavor is exactly, what the various stages of devotion are, what the symptoms of those stages are. So we can really look at ourselves and say, this is where I am right now in my spiritual life, and this is what I need to do in order to advance to the next stage. So it gives that real clarity. And then it's giving us insights and information and inspiration about the spiritual world. What is Vrindavan? What does it feel like? What does it look like? Who are the associates there? What are the kind of pastimes? What are the kind of services that we can hope to do if and when we go there? And then the more we read about it, the more our heart is touched by the sweetness of it, by the madhurya. Madhurya means sweetness in this context. The more we're touched by that, the more we gain an attraction towards this. We have to develop the desire that this is what I want. If you look in your heart of hearts, there are so many things we may want, like really want. We have to make Vrindavan that want. Very, very important. How do we do that? We have to associate with those who have that desire in their heart. We have to read about Vrindavan, we have to hear about Vrindavan and the Brajvasis. Raghunath Das Goswami is very, very kind. He's penned various literatures which really talk about Vrindavan. So there's one book here which is called Vilap Kusumanjali. This is Raghunath Das Goswami's swan song. He's sitting on the banks of Radhakund and he's yearning out for service to the divine couple. He was sitting in Vrindavan for 50 years almost. And he's crying and crying and crying. He cries so much that he almost goes blind. The final book he wrote was this, Vilap Kusumanjali. It's a bouquet of flower offerings in lamentation. He's begging the divine couple, please allow me to serve you like this, allow me to serve you like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. In so many beautiful, multifarious ways. And in the process, he is creating such a beautiful, vivid picture of the spiritual world. What is a spiritual world? What does it feel like, look like? Interactions, services, moods. The more we read about this, the more our desire grows. If we sing Tulsi Arti every morning, it says, Ei nivedana dharu sakhiranu gata koro seva adhikara diye koro nijatasi. Srila Prabhupada gave us this mantra. It's there. So in Gaudiya Math, they don't sing this. It's too intimate. Prabhupada instructed his devotees to sing this every morning in our Mangala as part of our morning program. So sometimes devotees say Prabhupada didn't give these things. Prabhupada gave everything. And the more you read and study, these books are quoting Prabhupada left, right and center, describing how he has instructed us to head in this direction. Of course, based on qualification. It's not willy-nilly. Whenever you like. No, there's a qualification and that has to be respected. But all of this is explained in very clear detail. But this is the goal of Krishna consciousness. This is the goal of the Krishna consciousness movement. And that's the purpose of these books, to help and inspire devotees to head in that direction. So Raghunath Das Goswami has written this book. He's written another book which is very beautiful called Vrajavilas Stava. And in this book, he's basically going through and just saying, he's just giving one or two verses, introducing us to so many Vrajvasis. He introduces us to the peacocks. He introduces Govardhan Hill. And it's 80 or 90 verses, just introducing various aspects of Vrindavan to the reader, just to make us familiar with Vrindavan. And it's so beautiful. So by hearing about Vrindavan, by hearing about the Vrindavan pastimes, gradually it rubs off. And this forms our desires. Whatever we associate with, a man is known by the company he keeps. Whatever we associate with, that forms our desires. So I'm going to stop there and see if there's any questions, comments.
You didn't say Raghunath Das Goswami, like one of the 6 Goswamis?
Correct.
I was thinking, Raghunath?
So, Raghunath, yes.
You have your accent?
Yes, I have my accent. Anyone else? Yes, please.
No question, please. Thank you for elevating our consciousness of late. I was having a downfall or dip in my bhakti or my sadhana. Your class was very nice. elevating it and making some kind of rituals.
Hare Krishna. Actually, whatever I've said is from these books, actually. So I'd encourage everyone. So we're on this tour. Like I said, this is our last stop. On Monday, we fly back to Europe after 89 days. And we've had immense success in terms of the reception for these books. They've been very well received on the East Coast, Midwest, and so on. So this we're just touching the West Coast. We come all the way here to Seattle, especially to meet all of you with these books. So the artwork is mesmerizing. You've seen the books much?
We have the
Navraj Mahima. Okay, Navraj Mahima is extremely beautiful. And then the Krishna in Vrindavan series is a notch or two above. So this is from the Krishna in Vrindavan series, these two boxes. You can just look at the boxes all day. Never mind the books themselves. They say a picture says 1,000 words. Some devotees have taken the books with no intention to read them, but just to look at the artwork. But I tell you, once you look at the artwork, it'll create a desire in the heart. Oh, I have to read. I have to read and hear about it. It's so beautiful.
Actually, I was thinking, if I have to keep at home, where should I keep in the stable there?
Yes. A few devotees told me that they bought bookshelves to house the books. This is an art book which just shows some of the artwork in these books. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay. I introduce you to Krishna. He is Krishna. Krishna means the all-attractive one. When you look at these pictures, the real question is, how can you not fall in love with Krishna? Srimati Radharani. Oh, look at Krishna. All of this artwork is in the books. This is mind-blowing. Everyone worships God. In our tradition, Krishna, God, worships his devotees. And this is beautiful. This concept is so beautiful. Love is a two-way street. It's a loving exchange. And the devotion and the gratitude that Krishna has for his devotees and their devotion and their service and their surrender is so, so beautiful. It's so inspiring, and it inspires us. Let me also give myself. Let me surrender everything. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamai pashyati. Radharani sees Krishna everywhere. One of her maidservants is actually combing her hair, but she sees Krishna combing her hair. This is Swapna Vilas, pastimes in dreams. So there's various levels or dimensions in which the pastimes take place. One of them is in dream. Radharani goes through so many endeavors to meet Krishna, so many dangers, even meeting dangerous snakes in the forest. Who's this? Correct, Vrindavan. You can't guess who this is. You have to read the books to know.
All Ashtasaktis.
Yeah. Rupa Manjari. This is Rupa Manjari.
Rupa Goswami.
Yes, Rupa Goswami's eternal form, Sarup. This is Rati Manjari. This is Raghunath Das Goswami's eternal form. This is a beautiful pastime in Vilap Kusumanjali that Raghunath Das Goswami tells. It's very, very, very nice. Raghunath Das Goswami is peering into a pond. Actually, he's peering into Radhakund here. And what does he see? His eternal Sarup. Raghunath Das Goswami. Krishna. This is a beautiful pastime. Anyway, I could go on. There's many here. So many beautiful pastimes.
Who's the artist?
The artists, we have various artists. We have an art studio in Hungary.
Yeah.
They're called the Radisham Art Studio. There's a few things that Hungarians are exceptional at, and one thing is art. If you come to the temple room in New Vrajadam, and also in Budapest, but in New Vrajadam, it's covered in amazing, beautiful art. It's just mesmerizing. You really feel like, wow. I remember when the first few visits, I was just like mesmerized. It really feels like you're walking into the spiritual world. It's just covered in beautiful art. At the bottom is Radha Krishna's pastimes, and then at the top is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's corresponding pastimes. Anyway, you all have to come and see. Make a Seattle trip to New Vrajadam, Hungary. It's beautiful. Please.
I've been around the Prabhupada's disciple devotees and all for 56 years.
Wow.
And I feel brand new today. I mean, this is really, a new beginning to us here. And well, actually it started, you said 30 years, Prabhupada said 30 years. And I was telling you earlier that it's been about 30 years that I've been here in Seattle with my family and all that, gradually getting down to, I need a new start. And then I got this awakening, but Prabhupada came back to me and just restarted me again. And now I'm really eager to go to India and get, keep up with everything. And it's a joy. And I feel like he actually, he's my guru. He's going to take me home, and I feel like he came back and shook me up a bit.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Marty.
Oh, I wanted to ask also about these books. You talked about the number 6 here, Raghunath. So is each one a different Goswami?
Yes, so I'll say something about the books. So there's 2 sets of books here. The first is called Navaraj Mahima. It comes in these 2 boxes. It's 9 volumes in total. And basically this is, the first 6 volumes is Pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. Very good for children, very good for adults. It's 3 lines per paragraph, easy reading. Very, very beautiful pastimes. Many you've never heard before. These aren't just Bhagavatam pastimes. There are some pastimes coming from the Bhagavatam with details from different places, but there's many, many pastimes which you never heard before. Then there's volume 7, which is all about the Gayatri mantras. This is not the rules and regulations concerning Gayatri, it's more the meditations. And volume 8, which is all about the Maha Mantra. And then there's a book of maps. These are all Vrindavan maps. So there's a big map of Vrindavan and then 50 maps which zoom in to the various areas of Vrindavan. So as you're doing your parikram, either here in the comfort of your own home or when you're actually in Vrindavan, or if you happen to be in New Vrajadam, then you can follow your way around and read all the pastimes that take place there. The map corresponds with the pastimes. So it's really an amazing parikram guide for Vrindavan. What really makes parikram special is when you actually know the significance of the place. What's the significance of the place? The pastimes that take place there. So this is really invaluable. Again, they're very, very beautiful books. They're exquisite, the printing, the artwork, the paper, the binding, the gold leaf here, the gold blocking, it's artificial leather. These books are very exquisite. Marge likes to make sure that quality is really top-notch. So sometimes I say, let's print in India. It'll be easier for me to sell the books, Guru Maharaj, And he says, no, quality first. He doesn't trust India, China, or anywhere else. He wants to make sure that we print in Budapest, where he oversees the printer. Same printer for the past 30 years. He's the best printer in the country, and he does a perfect job every time. Then there is the Krishna in Vrindavan series. They come in these 2 boxes. So this is based on the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, the first 39 chapters, which is Krishna, whilst he's in Vrindavan. Marge has taken various chapters from this section of the Bhagavatam, and he's using the writings of the Acharyas to churn and bring out those pastimes more and more. So for example, there's Venu Gita, the song of the flute. Krishna plays his flute and Vrindavan goes crazy. It's so beautiful. Yamuna begins to flow upwards rather than downstream. What happens to the trees, to the creepers, to the stones, to the grass, to the gopis, and so on. All of this is described in Venu Gita. It brings Vrindavan alive more and more. In Vrindavan, every day, a new color is produced. Imagine how limited our conception is. We know 7 colors for eternity. Eternity, our eternity, material world eternity. In Vrindavan, there's a new color produced every single day. Who wants to stay in this place? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said this material world is a toilet. Do your business and get out. Who hangs around in a toilet, right? So it's bringing it alive. So this is, there's Venu Gita, there's Sri Damodar Janani, it's the Damodar Leela, which we all hear during Kartik, but 400 pages of Damodar Leela. So beautiful. Many, many beautiful details, which shows how everything in Vrindavan is so conscious, so alive, and so desirous to be a part of the service towards Radhesham. And then there's Vilap Kusumanjali, which is in 3 volumes. Maharaj is commenting on those verses. And exquisite, very, very beautiful.
Are these in English?
All in English.
Okay.
There's a bit of Sanskrit here and there, but all in English. Absolutely. Yes. And they're really investment. Devotees may feel that you're too busy to read them now, but and that's life. But the time will come. And the good thing about books is that they don't disappear, they don't disintegrate, they'll always be there for you. Many of these books have been out of print over the years. Navaraj Mahima was out of print for 10 years. There were many devotees who were demanding it. There was one devotee in Washington who told me that she spent $2,000 trying to get her to buy one from someone because it was out of print. So,
How long ago was it
sorry?
born?
Oh, 2012.
Wow.
Navaraj Mahima was produced in 2012. The Krishna in Vrindavan series began in 1999. Maharaj produced Venu Gita, and then over the years he's been adding to it. But it's the first time that we've had them in these beautiful box sets. This is a very recent creation. These came out in March. So the boxes are so beautiful. One devotee had all of the books, but they just bought the set because they wanted to get the boxes. Anyway, they're beautiful, they're exquisite, and I request and encourage you all to take a set of the books. A set means the 2 before you leave today. Some of you may have Navaraj Mahima already. Who does? Ooh, a few of you. Okay. So then there's the Krishna Vrindavan series for those who already have Navaraj Mahima. But Navaraj Mahima also makes a wonderful gift. They're very, very... What better gift than, what one devotee told me? That they got a gift of Navaraj Mahima some years ago, and every time they pick up the books, they think of the person who gifted them, and they thank them. What better gift than the gift of wisdom? Anyway, yes, Maj.
The Goswami books. So you haven't spoken any except for this one. Is there a reason? I mean, that's Rupa over there and Sanatam and like that.
So this Vilap Kusumanjali, 3 volumes. They're all by Raghunath Das Goswami.
Okay, I thought it was.
So 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
This is Vilap Kusumanjali in 3 volumes.
Okay.
And it's Raghunath Das Goswami Maharaj is commenting on those verses. And they're beautiful. What can I say?
Okay. And so the other one?
Oh, and the other ones? So yeah, so we're going through, it's all based on the 10th canto. This is also elaborating on basically the Ras Panchadhyay, 10th canto, chapters 29 to 33, in an accessible way. I mention these things and everyone gets scared. But these books are accessible. So the other books, Manaji, just to answer your question, the first is Venu Gita. It's chapter 21, Song of the Flute. Krishna plays his flute, Vrindavan goes crazy. Second is Na Pare Hum. Krishna says to the gopis in particular, but to his devotees, I cannot repay you. What you give to me, your love for me, your surrender, your devotion, your service, is I can't pay back, but I'll try. And so beautiful is Krishna's testimony to his devotees of his love and appreciation. The next book is called Krishna Sangati. It's meetings with Krishna. Krishna leaves Vrindavan, but he promises, I'll return. and various times when the Vrajvasis meet with Krishna. Again, Kurukshetra is one place. The pastime I told today is also there. Then there's Damodar Janani, as I mentioned, the Damodar Leela. And then there's a book called Sankalpa Comedy. Sankalpa Comedy is a textbook for Krishna consciousness. It's really describing how to move from one stage to the next. I was mentioning how we become a little stale in our Krishna consciousness sometimes. But how do I keep that inspiration, that desire to continue to move forward in my Krishna consciousness? Because Prabhupada ultimately wanted us to become mad after Krishna. We have to be obsessive. Did you ever feel, when I was at university, at times I felt I had to be obsessive. I was just eating, thinking, drinking economics. I had to do that in order to do well in the exams. I didn't like it very much. You know, when the more you get into something, the more you think, my God, what a waste of time. But and I went into banking. I used 2 or 3% of what I studied. But it was, you know, I had to be obsessed. Similarly, with Krishna consciousness, we have to be very goal-driven, very focused, very absorbed in order to make substantial advancement. So this is giving the tools to do that and the inspiration to do it. I was involved with editing the book. It was hard work, to be honest with you. It's quite technical, but I came away from that book thinking, I want to become a pure devotee. This is, you know, it's really shooting that desire into the heart of the reader, that the goal of life is to become a pure devotee and to go to Vrindavan. And it rubs off. It's just a natural thing. So that's the...
I thought each one of them was a different Goswami.
No. So the focus, I think, takes various writings from various acharyas. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and they're the main acharyas.
Yeah, we do. All of them.
They're very, very beautiful. Please do come take a look. I guess seeing it as it's 1:10, time flies. I guess we'll stop for now, and we'll continue this evening in the temple at 7:30. Thank you so much, everyone, for your kind attention. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Seattle ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
So dear devotees, as you have seen, they have traveled so many miles within US and they came across the continent to spread the glories of the books that Acharyas have given us. So please come forward and try to help their mission in terms of spreading this invaluable jewel that they are bringing to us. So let me know, or you can directly tell probably Ananda Caitanya Prabhu that if you're interested to take any of those books. I have Navaraja Mahima. I'm going to go for a Krishna Vrindavan series, but please. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We'll see you all today at 7:30.
Is Prashadam?
Yes, Prasad is there, yeah. Ooh, is that art book is also for a sale or is just for a display? Somebody
The art book, so we came with the art book just to show the devotees the art. But so many devotees are crazy after the art book.
They're really beautiful.
They're amazing. So basically, when devotees get the books, then they can make a contribution towards the art studio who produces the books. Artists are often underfunded and not taken care of. So they can make a contribution towards the art studio and take the art book in addition to the books. Hare Krishna.
Just wanted to take a look at some of the
Please,
books.
please, please.